Okay, this is gonna be a fun time. Just need to make sure that everything's all set up. I see that we are live on the side. Perfect. I think now that should mean that we shall now go and get things started on this. Yes, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And we have just went through a pretty crazy week, let me tell ya. Now, even though it's going to be hard to really top what happened last week, still, there has been an episode of madness, one after another, that happened throughout the week. And it really did show that this was the week to prove that we have separated the men from the boys. And we have seen how real men do not get offended over a godforsaken Gillette commercial. I mean, have you seen the people that were pissed off about it? Like, holy crap! And they say women and feminists are easily offended. Okay, but all jokes aside, we really do have a pretty fun episode coming to you guys. This one in particular is going to be a lot more reboot-centric, per se. I will have mostly reboot stories about movies that will be coming up and related to all that. While on the side, we're also going to be talking about some animation personalities, especially when there are a few that made some major bombshells. But now that I have said all that, are you all ready to go and immediately get things started on this week's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, chat wall. Are you all ready? Alright, let me see now. First, I gotta make sure I'm ready first. Alright, oh, perfect. We are all ready. That's what I'm happy to see. And let's go ahead and get things started. And we shall now go and begin with our first story with, of course, a news related to a Disney live-action remake. Now, I know that there are some people out there, whenever a news would break out like that, there are those that their first reaction would be, oh my god, I hate this! Stop making all these live-action remakes! You know, they get triggered and they get freaked out and they go ballistic on social media. But this one, though, it's a little bit different. This one received a lot of very mixed reactions, and when I heard about this, I was very intrigued, and the more that I think about this, the more that I feel like this is the live-action reboot that maybe it could work. Maybe we do need this. And what I'm talking about, of course, is going to be Disney's live-action remake of The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yes, reports officially came out that Disney is now in the works to create a live-action remake of the 1996 animated feature, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which of course is based on the Victor Hugo novel of the same name. Now, already they do have a few people that are on board for the project. First and foremost, they actually got a writer for this movie, which is going to be the playwright David Henry Hwang, who is actually the Tony Award-winning playwright of Madame Butterfly. But on top of that, we also got some people who did work on the original animated feature as well, where we have Alan Menken and Stephen Schwartz, who will be returning to write the music for the movie. And on top of that, there are some rumors that are circulating around regarding the cast, as some people might think that maybe Josh Gad is going to come in and be the star of the movie, playing as Quasimodo. While there are no confirmations as of yet regarding any of the casting, Josh Gad is confirmed to be involved with the project, as he shall be a producer alongside the company Mandeville. And on top of that, there is one more addition that I would like to add. Even though this project is just announced, there are some people that are speculating regarding how they are going to execute this movie. And some people are thinking that maybe it's going to go towards the stage adaptation of Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame. Maybe they'll do something a little bit more like that. But, just to clarify though, there is something that in my source here on Deadline, they actually stated specifically regarding that thing, that the new film will pull from that 1996 animated film and the Victor Hugo novel, but not the stage production that Schwartz and Mencken collaborated in Europe. So that's pretty much the big thing. That now the Hunchback of Notre Dame is in the works as a live-action remake, and that they already got a few people involved. Now, I just want to start things off, first and foremost, telling you guys regarding my personal opinion on the animated film of The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And for those of you who are familiar with my videos, you probably are aware that The Hunchback of Notre Dame is one of my favorite animated films. It's one of my favorite Disney animated films, to be precise. Now, I understand it is a pretty flawed film, and I do understand how some people are not necessarily loving The Hunchback of Notre Dame in the same way that I would, especially when it would have some strong differences between the novel, especially like just taking the novel, sugarcoating it a little bit, and then just present it as Disney's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And then, of course, the gargoyles. I think the gargoyles there, it's pretty self-explanatory that even though I do find them to be enjoyable, but I do agree that they are pretty out of place. They don't necessarily belong there in that movie. So that's pretty much the big thing about The Hunchback of Notre Dame. But I will say, despite those flaws as well, I do love the movie because it's the kind of film that, in the same way, you could say it's very similar to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where whatever it does something right, it does it amazingly, like almost innovatively per se. Like, even though, say what you will about The Hunchback of Notre Dame, you can't deny that the animation is absolutely beautiful, and on top of that, the songs are amazing. From The Bells of Notre Dame, Heaven's Light and Hellfire, Topsy Turvy, and God Help the Outcast. There are a lot of very powerful and unforgettable songs. Probably some of the best among the Disney Renaissance. Like, I would legit put them up there with some of the other soundtracks, like with Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, Aladdin, The Little Mermaid, and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much my position on the animated Hunchback of Notre Dame. Is it a perfect movie? Absolutely not. But it is definitely beautiful in terms of the stuff that they have done, and I really do appreciate it. In fact, I definitely would count it as probably one of the more underrated animated films out there, just in general. I'm not 100% sure if I did place it among my top 10 underrated animated films. Maybe I have, but honestly, it's been a while since I've done that video. But honestly, overall, I would say that I do really love The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Such a great movie. And honestly, going back to this, though, going back to seeing the live-action remake of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, you would probably think that, considering that I am a huge fan of it, that I would be upset about this news. That, oh god, they're gonna make another one, they're gonna do, like, Beauty and the Beast or Maleficent, and they're just gonna screw it all up with random celebrities and butcher the songs and all that kind of crap. Not really. I look at this and I feel very intrigued by it. Because for me, when you take The Hunchback of Notre Dame and you're giving it a second chance by giving it new life and making a live-action remake, I feel like it could go one of two ways. Now, of course, it can go in a bad way where it is possible that it could end up butchering the movie and let alone the godforsaken novel down to the point where it's going to be the Disney live-action remake equivalent of The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2. So it could be that bad, and it is highly possible. However, I can also see another side of it where it could actually really work. And not just that, but probably make something that audiences might appreciate more than the animated film, actually delivering the Disney Hunchback of Notre Dame movie that people would actually want. And there are some evidence that I can see how they could actually pull it off. Like, number one, I could tell right over here that they do have some very prominent people. Like, they actually got some very prominent Broadway stars working on this, especially, number one, it goes without saying, bringing back Alan Menken and Stephen Schwartz. I'm sure that they can pull off some amazing music, not only rebooting the songs, but adding in some new ones that can really strengthen the movie. So, that one I am pretty excited about. That's great news right there. But also at the same time, you got David Henry Hwang, who is also involved, and this guy is a Broadway legend. This guy has a very prominent history and a very prominent legacy on Broadway, on stage, and just working in theatrical arts. So they really do try, like, you could tell just by bringing on those people that they really want to bring in some very strong Broadway vibes onto the movie. And debatably, you can even say that having Josh Gad on board, rather if he would be the star or just as a producer, Josh Gad is another person who definitely knows his way around the arts as well. This is actually someone who actually has a very prominent career in theater, in Broadway and in theater and all that kind of stuff before he would become a celebrity himself, like in movies and TV shows and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, they really did bring on board a lot of major Broadway people. In fact, actually, there is a bit of a little biography of David Henry Hwang. So just to read a little bit for you guys about what this is, it says that Hwang's other works includes the plays Chinglish, I think that's it, yeah, Chinglish, Yellowface, Kung Fu, Golden Child, and The Dance and the Railroad, and Broadway musicals including Elton John and Tim Rice's collaboration Ada, the revival of Flower Drum Song, and Disney's animated Tarzan. Yes, there was a once upon a time that Tarzan was on Broadway, although it was very short-lived. Let's see. Madame Butterfly was revived on Broadway in 2017 in a Julie Taymor-directed production starring Clive Owen. Hwang's collaboration with composer Janine Tesori, Soft Power, opened last May in Los Angeles. He is America's most produced living opera librettist as well. So, as you could probably tell, in terms of his works, there is a bit of a certain theme. I'll just say that you can tell that there is a little bit of an Asian theme going on. And this is just judging by the titles alone. Maybe they're completely different. There's a lot of them that I don't really know about. Like, this is the first time that I would hear about stuff like Chinglish, Yellowface, or Kung Fu, and Golden Child. So yeah, there is a little bit of a theme, but you could tell that David Henry Hwang does have a very prominent theatrical career, and hopefully that can translate very well onto movies as well. Now, I don't necessarily know many of his works in terms of film. I'm sure that he probably touched upon it, but hopefully what he can do for the stage can also work for the film, especially for this one as well. And there is a second reason as to why I can see some strong potential with this Hunchback reboot, and it's the direction that they are going. Sure, they're not necessarily just remaking the stage adaptation, but they did state that they're going to mix elements of the animated film and the Victor Hugo novel. And that is a direction that Disney has seen major success with before, especially with what has been deemed by many as the best Disney live-action remake, The Jungle Book. And that's a movie that blends elements of both the 1967 animated film and the Rudyard Kipling book. They combined the two to create an original movie that has the spirit of the animated film, but feels fresh, it feels brand new, and it feels like it gives more respect to the original novel. And that could actually be the direction that we can see with this one right over here. Maybe it can work out. Maybe, like what they have done with The Jungle Book, they can also do with The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And I will add this as well. Either way, if it works or not, I could see a little bit of a win, because one benefit of having a Hunchback of Notre Dame live-action remake, it means that it will put the animated film in the spotlight once again. It will give a lot more attention to know that people will understand that Disney didn't just pull this out randomly. They actually based it on something, which is the animated feature, especially if they're going to bring in the songs as well, like Out There and Hellfire and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like with the best and worst case scenario, it really is a bit of a win-win. Because imagine this. Best case scenario, the movie turns out to be good, and audiences finally got the Hunchback of Notre Dame movie by Disney that they finally asked for. But then again, if the movie turns out to be bad, if it turns out to suck, then people might actually get a newfound appreciation for the animated feature. They'll look at that, and then they'll look back at the animated film and they'll say, well, I mean, I'll give the animated film this. Yeah, it's kind of dumb, but it has some good components into it. So I feel like in that case, it really is a win-win situation. And I'm actually pretty excited to see this come out for that, because honestly, there's a lot more good that can come out of this than bad. So honestly, this is the kind that I really am intrigued to see how Disney can actually develop, and what will it mean for the legacy of Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame. And I will say this, if you're still a little bit iffy on the idea, I'm just going to say right now that I have seen a lot of people out there, they would mention how if there are some Disney animated films that deserve to be rebooted, then go with the ones that are a little bit flawed. Like, I've seen a lot of people mention about The Black Cauldron, or Atlantis the Lost Empire, or Treasure Planet. Not necessarily the best Disney animated films, but at least the ones that do have a bit of flaws, but still retain some good elements and have a bit of a fan base. Those are the ones that you can reboot it so that you can fix up some of the mistakes and turn out to be much better. That could be a really good plan. So that's the one thing that I am hoping for with this one as well. That's what I'm hoping for regarding the Hunchback of Notre Dame. So I would say that overall, that would be my thoughts on this Hunchback remake, where honestly, I really am excited to see what Disney would have in store. And not just in terms of the movie itself, but also I'm excited and optimistic regarding the future of the animated film's legacy. Hopefully this will mean that Disney will give more attention to the animated film. So we'll have to wait and see. And even though this is very early in production, like, this has just been announced, like, we might not see this for another 3-4 years, still, this is one of those live-action remakes that I am curious about and pretty anticipated to actually see. And, but I will say this, one more thing that I will add, though, is that there is one element that I am actually saddened about, and that it does kind of suck regarding this remake right over here. And I've seen many people suggest this, is that it sucks that it's too late. It sucks that it's only now that they announced it and not before. Because honestly, when you think about the casting, there was one person who was absolutely perfect for the role of Frollo. This would have been the guy that he should have been the part, he would have been perfect, and that's pretty much it. It sucks that, not Alan Menken, but Alan Rickman has unfortunately passed away, because he would have been the perfect Frollo. Imagine, he looks the part, he sounds the part, he can sing the part as well. We've seen his singing talents in Sweeney Todd. He does have his chops. And honestly, it sucks that it didn't happen. It sucks that he passed away so that we don't have that perfect casting right over there. Honestly, it does suck a little bit, but who knows? Maybe they're gonna do exactly like with the live-action remake of Aladdin, and they're gonna go and hire a younger guy and someone a lot more sexy to really, sexify Frollo. Because, keep in mind, Frollo does have its fangirl. He has his fangirls and his fanboys. You have no idea how many people out there have a massive crush on Frollo. It's actually kind of crazy. So maybe Disney might actually go and bank on that. But if they, keep in mind, guys, if they can make a sexy Jafar, they can make a sexy Frollo. Okay. But I think that's pretty much all good with the Hunchback story. So now I want to know from you guys, and this is something that I really am fascinated about. I really want to know about other people's opinions because it really is a massive mix. But now I want to go into the chat wall right over here, and I want to ask about you guys. What do you all think about the news of the live-action remake of The Hunchback of Notre Dame? Are you guys excited to see this happen? Are you guys unsure about this? Do you think it's going to be good? Do you think it's going to be bad? Let me know right now. Okay, so let's begin. My thoughts on this announcement is mixed. Netflix is already making an adaptation, and the original film was good enough. Disney is only doing these for money unless the live-action remakes in 2019 bomb, which would be great because Dumbo looks bad and we don't need any of these remakes. Okay, we got a Disney Reboot hater right over here. So, yeah, this one just says, no, it's a remake, it's bad! Alright, let me see now. On one hand, I don't know if I am willing to see a live-action remake of Hunchback, as my parents adore this movie to no end. But on the other hand, if they are going with this, the best case they can do is remove the gargoyles. I personally don't mind them, but I am aware a lot of people hate them. Or have them properly establish them as figments of Quasimodo's imagination. Honestly, with the way that they've mentioned that they are mixing the animated film and the novel, I think that should be the one big thing to really fix up. Just make the gargoyles a figment of Quasimodo's imagination. Like, honestly, a great way to fix up the animated film is if you just cut off a lot of the scenes at the end where the gargoyles are helping out to stop the guards from entering Notre Dame Cathedral. Like, you cut that out, then it will fully establish that the gargoyles are just a part of Quasimodo's imagination. So, hopefully, maybe with this one, they will, actually... they will actually go and properly establish that they are a part of Quasi's imagination and nothing more. Because it did seem like Disney was going towards that direction, but then, like, a last-minute change must have happened. Okay, anyways, what else we got? I say, hell yeah! Why not do a newer version, since I do like different interpretations? I feel this can work since they can get away with more dark stuff, and it might be a 50% chance that the gargoyles might appear, but not coming to life gig. Keep in mind that Hunchback is one of my favorite, and I recently got my hands on the art book. Plus, me and my family don't mind the gargoyles, so yeah, I'm on board with this. Okay, that sounds interesting. I'll go with one more. I'm intrigued with the remake, and I hope they pay respect to the masterpiece that is the original movie, my favorite movie ever. I hope Frollo remains as, hold on a sec. I hope Frollo remains as evil as in the original movie, and the movie keeps the dark tone of the animated feature without having the gargoyles or the heavy out-of-place moments of levity. But I'm pretty sure I prefer the original because it's my favorite, but as a fan of the Victor Hugo novel, the animated movie, and the French musical based on the novel, I have... Okay, so... I guess like they kind of stopped. But as you can probably tell, just by looking in the chat wall, there are a lot of many different reactions, many different opinions to this. So it really is kind of fascinating to see all the different opinions and reactions that are going on. So, honestly, I'm definitely on board with this just by that alone, just to see like the different reactions of the thumbs up and the thumbs down. It's gonna be very like I'll definitely say right now, among all the upcoming Disney live action remakes, this is the one that I am interested to see the most. So guess we'll have to see how Disney will go from there. Okay, so I think we are all good with the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and now it shall be time that we will jump onto another Disney live action remake. Except this one, it is more unfortunate news, because this was another one that had a lot of potential going for it, that actually had some people that really had some strong capabilities in order to actually make a proper and good Disney live action remake of that film. But the key word here was and had. Those are the two elements that you have to keep in mind, because With this one, it kind of sucks that it's now at the point where it kind of lost a lot of its potential. And I'm talking, of course, about Disney's live-action remake of Dumbo. Yes, unfortunately, the live-action remake of Dumbo, sorry. Did I say Dumbo? I meant Pinocchio. I apologize, guys. Yes, the Disney live-action remake of Pinocchio has unfortunately lost its director, which was Paul King, the man who actually directed the Paddington movies. This was apparently revealed through a podcast called Discussing Film, in which they talked with cinematographer Seamus McGarvey. And just reading from the quote that he said in that podcast, reading through my source here at Screen Rant, it stated, the director basically pulled out of the film for family reasons. Disney are trying to find a new director, but yeah, I read those reports that Tom Hanks and all those people, but yeah, they're trying to get it going. But on top of that, even before it actually even stated that when discussing the development of Pinocchio, McGarvey revealed that Disney ran into some issues over the holidays and even canceled the film. So that's pretty much the point where it is right now, where Disney is having a bit of difficulties in terms of developing this live-action remake of Pinocchio, even down to the point that they might have possibly canceled it. But according to the cinematographer, it looks like they're not necessarily giving up on it, and they're still trying to move forward with the project, possibly finding a brand new director. And for me, I feel like this kind of sucks, because among all the people out there to actually go and try to develop a live-action remake of Disney's Pinocchio, Paul King could not be a choice that someone could find that's actually better. I think Paul King was actually the best choice for this kind of job, because in a way, when you look back at Walt Disney's Pinocchio, some people actually do debate out there that it is possibly the greatest animated feature ever created, yes. Oh, okay. Just wanted to clear that out, so let me go ahead and continue. But going back with Pinocchio, like, in a way, when you think about adapting that film into live action, it's almost sacrilegious in a way. This, like, we're literally talking about the animated film that gave us When You Wish Upon a Star, which some people could even say that this is Disney's anthem. We hear that all the time before a Disney movie would start. So the thing with Pinocchio is that you gotta be really careful to make sure that you don't screw this one up. And in the case of Paul King, this is a guy who actually made sure to get his movies right. He actually would go out and prove to everyone that he can actually make very charming, very enjoyable, and very highly praised movies with the Paddington films, like with Paddington 1 and with Paddington 2. In fact, Paddington 2 right now actually beat out the record of Toy Story 2 of being the highest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes, gathering the most reviews while still having 100%. It really is that critically acclaimed. Like, critics loved it, audiences loved it. It definitely was something that people adored, because not only was it a great movie, but it stayed true to the original source material. And Paul King was someone that would actually be able to deliver that. To deliver a great movie and to stay true with the spirit of the original source material, like with Disney's Pinocchio. So we definitely trusted that guy to make sure that he would actually get this right. He would actually work on this very well. However, with him out of the way, honestly, I don't know anyone else that can actually do the job properly. It's not about finding another director, it's finding another director that can actually do justice to Pinocchio, that can actually make this project work. And it's kind of sad over the fact that they kind of lost a bit of that opportunity, because, like, all I can say is just, now what? And even at the point where during the holidays, Disney even did consider canceling it. So I do have a bit of a theory at this point regarding what are they going to do with Pinocchio. And keep in mind, this might not be the case. Maybe it will happen. Maybe Disney is still determined to find it. But I feel like right now, there could be a chance that this live action remake of Pinocchio, it's in limbo right now. We don't know the direction that it is going. Disney is unsure if they really are actually going to make this. And the ultimate factor regarding if Disney thinks that making this Pinocchio remake would be worth it is actually with Dumbo. Why Dumbo, you may ask? Well, the thing is, Dumbo, like Pinocchio, is an old animated film that is done during Walt Disney's golden age of animation, where he would crank out the classics like Snow White, Pinocchio, Fantasia, Bambi, and Dumbo. So with Dumbo, if that movie does not meet Disney's expectations financially, if it's not a massive box office hit, then it might make them lose interest in terms of making this Pinocchio movie, and they'll just scrap it all together. And maybe they'll just go ahead and just stick with some of the Disney Renaissance movies, because so far they have been finding major success with those, especially with Beauty and the Beast. And then this year, of course, as well, we are getting the live-action remake of Aladdin, and also the live-action remake of The Lion King, which I've probably triggered some people by saying that, like, it's not a live-action remake, it's computer animated. But anyways, going back to this, I do feel like right now with Pinocchio, it could be a bit of an ultimate factor. With the Dumbo remake, it's going to be a factor if Pinocchio might actually be worth going. Are they going to pursue to actually create this remake, or are they not? I think that is ultimately something that we would have to wait and see on. So yeah, overall though, I would say that I am a bit disappointed that Paul King decided to leave. I'm sure he did have his reasons, considering that sources here state that it is for family reasons. So I do wish him the best of luck, but still, it is kind of sad that right now for Pinocchio, it just doesn't necessarily work out that well. Is there a freaking helicopter going on? You guys hear that, right? I don't know, maybe it's just me. But, I hear that outside, but it's just like, what the fridge is going on out there? But anyways, going back into this, yeah, it is unfortunate that they did lose their director, and probably they have lost the best director who is qualified for this kind of job. So, rather if this remake is even going to happen in the first place, I guess we're just gonna have to go and wait and see. But anyways, with all that said and done, I would like to go and jump into the chat wall, and I would like to ask, what do you guys think about the live-action remake of Pinocchio losing its director? Are you guys sad that he's out? Are you guys not excited about this in general? And also, do you guys think there is someone that they could replace Paul King with? Someone else who could be qualified to make a live-action remake of Disney's Dumbo? Let me know what you guys think. Alright, let me see you right over here. There's already a live-action remake of Pinocchio. It's called Geppetto. Oh yeah, that thing right there. Oh god. I still haven't seen that thing, but it just seems hilarious to me, especially with having Drew Carey as Geppetto himself. Oh, that is funny. Let's see. Sad that Paul King leave Pinocchio. I love that guy that made the live-action CGI done right. The reason why Disney is making a lot of live-action remakes is because of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory 2005. Disney were impressed by the film and brought all the team along with Tim Burton to make Alice in Wonderland, and it was a massive success. I don't know if I would say it's all because of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory because of that, but okay. Let's see now. I'm pretty disappointed because he wouldn't have made this film good. Oh, he would have made this film good. And also, if I had to pick a director for his replacement, it would be James Cameron, in my opinion. James Cameron? That is a bit of a surprising and unusual choice, but okay. I honestly never thought about, like, what would a James Cameron's Pinocchio would look like, but then again, I guess that a little bit of Avatar is kind of like that, where, like, you're kind of bringing to life a big giant blue Smurf cat person thing. So I don't know. We shall see. Right over here. It's sad that Pinocchio losing the It's sad that Pinocchio losing his director is sad, since the Paddington movies have proved that Paul King is actually a great director. My top choice for his replacement would be the director of the 2018 Christopher Robin and World War Z. So the Christopher Robin guy, maybe, okay. Oh wow, some people are saying even Christopher Nolan. Oh wow, that's kind of an extreme example though. Oh my god. Hi diddly dee. Oh boy, he would have a field day with the soundtrack right there. Okay, but all right. Apparently someone mentioned also Steve Barron could do a live action Pinocchio. He did the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Did he do something like recently though? What about Steven Spielberg? Okay, with Steven Spielberg, I don't think that's really much of a good idea, because technically Steven Spielberg actually did do a Pinocchio movie. Artificial intelligence, AI, is loosely based on Pinocchio, so technically we already did have a Steven Spielberg Pinocchio movie, so there is that. Okay, but anyways, I think we're pretty much all good about this live-action remake of Pinocchio. But there is one more comment that I would like to add, though, is that, yeah, sure, it kind of sucks about what happened to Disney's live-action remake of Pinocchio, but either way, at least we're still gonna have Guillermo del Toro's Netflix movie, so that I'm definitely much more anticipated for. Alright, but now that's the end of the live-action remake of Pinocchio, and we're going to be jumping into one more remake, and this one, I would count this as a bit of a bonus miscellaneous. I know that technically this isn't really animated per se, but I feel like we do have a bit of a thing going on with all these reboots and remakes and stuff like that. And this one in particular, I know some people are going to say technically it's not a remake and stuff like that, but its main function is similar to a remake or a reboot to capitalize on nostalgia. It's a remake in the same way that Christopher Robin and Mary Poppins Returns is a remake. But I'm just gonna go and say right now that, man, I am not excited for this at all. And it's not because of the movie, it's because of everyone else. Outside of the movie, of course. And I'm talking, of course, about Sony's surprise Ghostbusters movie. Yes, right out of the blue, Sony Pictures decided to go and announce that 2.5 years after the infamous 2016 reboot, Sony is going to try another shot at making a Ghostbusters movie. This time having Jason Reitman to go and direct the film. And the significance with Jason Reitman is that he is actually the son of Ivan Reitman, who is the director of the original Ghostbusters movie, with the ones from the 80s, like Ghostbusters 1 and 2. And on top of that, he is currently writing the script alongside Monster House director Jill Kennan. And regarding how this movie is going to go, I'm going to read from my source here in Variety, as it states that, I'll start off by going right over here. Reitman has also co-written a screenplay with Jill Kennan and plans to shoot the film this summer, with Sony planning to release the latest sequel in the summer of 2020. Insiders say this film will be a continuation of the 1984 sequel and will not be connected to the 2016 film. Sources couldn't say if that means that the original cast members will be back, as exact story details are still being kept under wraps, but sources say Reitman has begun testing teenagers for 4 mystery roles. So that's currently the situation of what's going on. And on top of that, Sony even released a teaser trailer for this movie already, but I'm not gonna go and show this right over here because it'll be easier for me to go and post this on YouTube without editing anything. That, and also it doesn't really show much. It's like you see a barn, and then it reveals the classic car from the Ghostbusters movie. I think it's like the Ectoblaster or something like that. I'm not all too familiar with Ghostbusters myself, but yeah, it's like in a barn, we see the car, and that's it. Summer 2020. And that's all that we have seen so far. But this is pretty much the biggest movie news that we had this week. That Sony surprised people that not only that a Ghostbusters movie is going to be coming out, and it's going to be more of a sequel to the original films, but also is going to be coming out soon in the summer of 2020. And honestly, it's pretty interesting with the way that they're building this right now, and it's especially regarding the rumors about the teenage stars, because from what I've actually heard is that there is a chance that the stars of the movie will not necessarily be the original cast. While, yeah, sure, people like Ernie Hudson, Bill Murray, and Dan Aykroyd might have like a cameo, or they might return for this movie for their original roles, there is actually some rumors going along that there is a possibility that 2 teenage boys and 2 teenage girls are going to step in and be the new Ghostbusters of this movie. So that's currently the stuff that I have been hearing that's going on with this. I don't know if it's true or not, but I do find that if it is true, it is actually pretty interesting the way that they would go and develop this, because honestly, I'm starting to sense that Sony has a bit of a formula going on when it comes to many of their tentpole movies, with some of their major movies. And it reminds me so much of something like Goosebumps, or with Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle, where the stars of the movie are teenage kids. It's like little kids that younger audiences that they want to try to relate to, but or at least they, like, their characters are supposed to be teenagers. Like, I understand that technically with Jumanji, the stars, like the main stars of the movie, like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson or Jack Black, like those guys are just like video game avatars, but they're technically just teenage kids. And that could be the same direction that they could go. They could deliver like another Ghostbusters or another Jumanji, but with those kids right over here, and especially with Jason Reitman, it is very unique and very interesting that they bring him on board. Like, I'm not necessarily buying into the whole, like, oh, the son of the original director is coming in to work on this, he's going to stay true with the stuff, because technically, like, the sons of famous filmmakers don't necessarily mean that they're gonna carry on the legacy. Like, John Legend is definitely a filmmaking legend, but I would certainly not say the same for his crazy son, Max. So I'm just going to emphasize that out there. But I will say, in terms of the merits of Jason Reitman himself, he has proven to be a pretty solid director himself, where he would go and make more hits than he would misses. And especially, probably his most famous work beforehand would probably be Juno. That's a movie that really was really big back in the day when, like, it was very recognized by the Oscars and stuff like that. But apparently it seems that with this one in particular, this is the first time that Jason Reitman would work on a major movie. Beforehand, he would be working on stuff that would be categorized more as like indie films or smaller studio movies, but this one is a major franchise movie, and probably Sony would not be afraid to give this one some major bucks. So there are some good chances that this movie might actually turn out pretty enjoyable. It might actually turn out to be pretty well. However, with all that said, I do not support the idea right now of having another Ghostbusters movie. Like, I think that this is a terrible idea. This should not even happen, and I truly do believe that Sony, in their right mind, they should stop production of this immediately. But this is not necessarily because of the movie itself. It doesn't have to do with Ghostbusters. It doesn't have to do with the movie. It doesn't have to do with Jason Reitman. It doesn't involve anyone with the movie, with the people that are involved working in there. It's nothing like that. What I'm afraid about is the freaking internet's reaction when it comes to Ghostbusters in general. Now, maybe I'm just saying this because of godforsaken PTSD, but I think we can all remember back in 2016 about the freaking disaster of the 2016 movie. And I'm not talking about the film itself. I'm talking about the controversies and the flame wars that it has ignited on the internet. Like, I'm just saying right now, if you guys think that I went too far in terms of my reactions on certain Sony films, that is nothing compared to how most people would react when it comes to the 2016 reboot. Like, they are so emotionally invested when it comes to the subject of the 2016 film, down to the point that it really is a bit unnecessary, and people would be godforsaken tearing each other apart of it. And I will explain to you why. Why is it that people just went absolutely nuts about the 2016 reboot? It's mainly because people don't see that as a movie. They didn't view the Ghostbusters film as an entire, as like a movie on its own. They view it more as like a political symbol. They view the 2016 Ghostbusters film as like a symbol or an icon of feminism. That's kind of like the major thing that they see it. Because that the stars, like the new Ghostbusters, are all female, somehow that legendarily means that it's about feminism. It's about women taking over men's jobs and all that kind of crap. So really, it really did become such a political stance where liking this movie or not liking this movie is not about if you like a movie or not. Like, it really does mean a lot more. That's why you see so many people that are so emotionally invested, or probably too emotionally invested, when it comes to this film as itself. It really is ridiculous the way that some people, that they would either view this as like the next greatest thing since the rise of Jesus Christ, or some people would legitimately view it as the worst thing to happen in the world since the godforsaken Holocaust. It's absolutely freaking ridiculous. And part of me, like, I'm not gonna freaking take sides in any of this, because, like, one thing that I feel like why this movie legitimately failed, and it's not because of the feminism aspect, it is actually because of the controversy. The way that it becomes so taboo when it comes to expressing an opinion just on this feature film alone, that if you would walk in, you're just getting yourself into massive trouble. That's why there are a lot of people that decided to step back. And it's not necessarily all of the internet's reactions' fault. Like, Sony Pictures did play a part in this as well, where they did add a little bit of fuel to the fire as well. They really did mess up on that, which you could tell about how the consequence really did arrive when they ended up losing around $75 million just on the 2016 reboot. So it really is insane. So yeah, they did play a part of that as well, but I did believe that the reactions are just way too intense. And I feel like because of how the internet reacted to the 2016 movie, it really did kill off the phrase, "it's just a movie." You can't calm people down just by saying, "Relax, guys, it's just a freaking movie," because at the end of the day, that's all it is. It's not a symbol of feminism whatsoever. All it is, it's just a movie. The 2016 film, it's just a movie and nothing more. It's only made because Sony wants to try to go and capitalize on the nostalgia of a couple of movies that were released back in the 1980s. Nothing more and nothing less. Just treat it as a movie. That's all you have to do. Is that really that hard to ask? And on top of that, I just want to go and emphasize, it doesn't matter how you feel that way. Your feelings towards that movie should not justify the behavior that you would present whenever this would come out. It's perfectly okay if you love this movie or that you hate this movie. It's okay that if you like it or if you hate it, or if you're somewhere in between where you feel like it's a mixed bag. Whatever opinion that you have, it is perfectly fine. But that should not give you the excuse to be a dick, to act like a freaking lunatic, to act like a godforsaken barbarian, to go and get angry, get stupidly over the top angry, much more than I have ever done towards any other Sony film. It doesn't excuse you for that. And it certainly should not excuse you to go and attack others for it, and certainly to go and attack people, to go and attack the filmmakers for it. I don't care what Paul Feig or the cast or Sony have said, it should not excuse you to go and attack those people at all. Whatever opinion that you have on the movie, it is perfectly fine. The only thing that is not okay is to think that it's a bad thing to have an all-female Ghostbusters movie. Now, I'm not necessarily referring to the 2016 film at all. That's not what I'm saying. Just the concept, just the idea alone of an all-female Ghostbusters movie where all the Ghostbusters are women. If you have a problem with just the idea itself, then yes, that does mean that you are misogynistic, you are sexist, and you should be ashamed of yourself of your prejudice. And if the rumors are actually correct, that there is a possibility that some women Ghostbusters are going to be involved in Jason Reitman's Ghostbusters, then you better calm your freaking ass down to make sure that you don't go prejudice and act freaking sexist and attack women all over again. I mean, seriously. And I just want to clarify, no, it is not all 2016 Ghostbusters haters that are sexist and misogynistic. Now, I do understand that. It is not the case at all. But you cannot deny that there are some of those haters that do hate that because of that prejudice. They hate it just on the idea that women can be Ghostbusters as well. And especially you cannot deny that there are some racist 2016 Ghostbusters haters. And you cannot say that I'm wrong on this, especially to what happened to Leslie Jones. Now that is something that really put a terrible stain on the fan base of Ghostbusters, especially when the attacks on Leslie Jones are led by a neo-Nazi pedophile. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So, honestly, just going back into this, what I am worried about regarding the 2020 Ghostbusters movie is actually if not only they're rebooting Ghostbusters, but also the toxicity from the toxicity of 2016 would also be rebooted as well, because I've already seen that happen just a little bit. I've already seen that happen when people would immediately bring up the 2016 Ghostbusters reboot as like a freaking comparison. And it's honestly just ridiculous. And that's what I'm godforsaken afraid of. That the controversy is going to be revived all over again. And it's mostly coming from the haters of the 2016 reboot that they would not shut up about it. And that's kind of the irony of all this, is that the ones who want the 2016 Ghostbusters reboot dead, those are actually the people who are going to keep it alive the most. They're going to be the ones who will keep bringing it up often, keep using it as a comparison as like the worst thing ever, or the thing that ruined their childhood, or treat it as if it was something that caused like a mass shooting, you know? They'll treat it as like one of the worst things ever, and that's what I'm worried about. It's really the factor that they're just going to keep, like, because this Ghostbusters movie would actually come back, they would use it as an excuse to go and revive their grudge against the 2016 Ghostbusters remake and attack people all over again just because of a godforsaken movie. That's what I'm worried about the most. And that's the thing that really does upset me about this news, that Sony wants to immediately make another Ghostbusters movie, because it's almost similar in a way it's very similar to last week's news regarding why people were upset about John Lasseter being the head of animation in Skydance, where with this one, it feels like Sony is indirectly rewarding the toxic behavior of some Ghostbusters fans, saying that you'll get what you want as long as you get angry, you lash out, you cry, you throw temper tantrums. Like, as long as you do those things, you'll end up getting what you want. You'll end up getting another Ghostbusters movie. And I feel like it's actually ridiculous. And with the way that they're not necessarily connecting to the 2016 film, like, obviously they have stated that they want to try to distance themselves from that movie. Like, the haters of that film, they will think that they're kind of like winning some kind of war that that doesn't even freaking exist for some reason. And no, and honestly, at that point, I don't want to hear from a freaking idiot. I don't want to hear any idiots out there say that this movie is an apology letter to the godforsaken, to the 2016 movie. I don't want to hear that at all. Because I want to say this right now. People who say that, oh, this movie is an apology letter to this, like, those are godforsaken narcissists. There is no such thing as a studio that would actually make movies as an apology letter to a previous film. So no, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is not Sony Animation's apology letter to the Emoji Movie, and this Ghostbusters film is not an apology letter to the 2016 Ghostbusters reboot. The only people who say that are narcissists that think the world revolves around them. That's the part that I'm not okay with. That's honestly something, I don't want to freaking hear that right now, because you're a freaking idiot if you do so. So, going back into this. Now, I just want to clarify once again, I am not saying right over here that I'm against the movie itself. Maybe the movie could actually turn out to be really good. Maybe this is the third Ghostbusters movie that people have waited decades for. Maybe Jason Reitman is actually going to do a great job. I'm not against the movie itself. I'm not against the people for it, but what I'm worried about the most is the revival of the toxicity of Ghostbusters. That is something that I don't want to see. That is something that I don't want to see bring back. And it's going to be hard for it not to when people are going to keep on bringing back the 2016 reboot, that they're going to keep getting triggered, and like I said before, some people think that, oh, it's the women and feminists that get easily offended the most over the simplest things. But no, bring out a Gillette commercial, bring out the 2016 Ghostbusters reboot, see who are the real people that get offended the most over the stupidest freaking things. And that's the part that I'm really worried about. And hopefully maybe that's not going to be the case, but it does still lead, I just need to let this out. That's why I want to bring this up in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. It's just, this news really does worry me about if it's going to also bring back the controversy and people just attacking each other just for a godforsaken movie. So I just want to say, I think I'm going to just clear this out by just saying this. Now, regardless of what you are feeling regarding this Jason Reitman Ghostbusters movie, you could be excited about it. You could be anticipating for it. That's perfectly fine. Or you might not be anticipated for it. You might be upset about it. That's perfectly fine as well. But when it comes to the 2016 Ghostbusters remake, can we just treat it as a movie for once It's okay if you love it. It's okay if you hate it. It's okay if you love it, and it's okay if you hate it. But please, can we just talk about Ghostbusters and be respectful about it? Can we do so in a way that we don't tear each other apart? Can we do so in a way that we don't come out, that some people don't come out as either misogynistic or racist or anything like that? Can we just treat the movie as just a movie and nothing more? It's not worth getting angry over. It's not worth attacking people over. The movie, like all the movies, the 2016 film and the 1980s films, they don't take themselves seriously. Neither should you. The Ghostbusters movies are only movies and nothing more. And if you really think it's justifiable to really get angry and lash out at everyone just for a movie, then grow up and get a freaking life. And that's all that I have to say. That's honestly a lot that I have to let out, but honestly, it's something that's been in me for so long that I just needed to let out regarding this controversy. It's ridiculous. So, honestly, yeah, I think I'm all good with this. Alright, so, with all that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall right over here, and I want to go and ask you guys about your thoughts regarding this Ghostbusters movie that Sony is about to bring out soon. Are you guys excited for it? Are you guys worried about it? Let me know about what you think about this. Alright, so, let's see. I am not excited for this new Ghostbusters movie. Sony is probably doing this because of the money and to build the Ghostbusters franchise. Actually, yes, they are. Even at that, a lot of people might not watch it because either they are sick of Ghostbusters or the 2016 movie was so bad that they want to stay away from Ghostbusters. What Sony should do is cancel this new Ghostbusters movie and move on. If Sony was going to make this, they should announce it a long time before the reboot, so the controversy would. Okay, I definitely agree with you there. Like, honestly, it would have been wiser for Sony to just wait another 5 or even 10 years to make sure that everyone has moved on from the controversy, that our culture has kind of grown from what happened right there. It would have been wiser for them to just move on from all that. So, honestly, that should be the big thing. Let's see now. Anything else? I know you, and I talk about this on Facebook, but to me, I hope it doesn't create another controversy all over again after 2016, because this is sort of when people react similar to the recent Star Wars movies. I like the Ghostbusters movies, and as for 2016, I thought it was okay. I can see why people hate the 2016 movie, but it's still stupid for people to attack each other, including the cast, because it's still a movie. I'll just wait and see if the next Ghostbusters will do better. Okay. Anything else? Just want to see other comments. Okay. I never saw the original Ghostbusters, but I hate the controversy of Ghostbusters 2016, and I've seen Red Letter Media's review of this. For the movie, though, we don't need another Ghostbusters after the 2016 film. Can Ghostbusters be put to rest? Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. Alright. I think Sony learned from Jumanji on how to bring back an old nostalgic property into the current times. The Ghostbusters movie might be the Ghostbusters equivalent of Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle. While it still may keep the original cast, Ghostbusters 2016 also bombed because Sony used the controversy as a marketing strategy, and a scene was even shot as a response. Oh, dear God, yeah. Sony did, yeah, I mean, like, say what you will about Sony, they did not handle it well. Let's see. You know, it's not every day that you get a sequel to the original after the reboot. However, I'm just going to say this. Oof. Judging by the infamous outcry of the 2016 film, I'm not exactly going to hold my breath on the reactions. But I will say, I will call it my most anticipated movie of 2020, as long as one of the teenage Ghostbusters is not Logan Paul. Just saying. Oh boy, oh, I do hope. I know Sony can have their dumb moments, but I hope they're not that dumb. Oh god, please Sony, don't do that. Please Sony, don't do that. Okay, and I'm just gonna say right now, if they are doing that, JF, I'm putting that on you. That will be your fault. I will put that on your conscience for life. Okay, but anyways, I think I feel a lot better, honestly. I just needed to let that out of my system, and, I feel happy to just express that with you guys, so we'll see what happens, and the movie is going to be coming out very soon on the summer of 2020, so hopefully, let's see what happens, and let's hope that people can be more civilized and more respectful and more polite to each other. Is that so hard to ask? Is it? But anyhow, let's go ahead and move on to our next story, and I think we are pretty much all done with these remake announcements, and now we're going to go into another story that we have right over here, and this one actually came out just recently, and it was actually quite a shocker. Like, I saw that and I was shocked myself regarding this. Now, this is actually regarding a news that, that Pixar is going through some major changes, especially with the departure of their leaders, especially with John Lasseter and Ed Catmull. Well, it seems like another person is going to be going out of the way. Well, he's going to be leaving Pixar. And I'm talking, of course, about Lee Unkrich. Yes, folks, Lee Unkrich has officially announced that after working for 25 years at Pixar Animation Studios, he is finally deciding to leave Pixar. He did leave a bit of a quote as to why he is leaving, and I'm going to read in my source here in The Hollywood Reporter as it states, "I'm not leaving to make films at another studio. Instead, I look forward to spending much needed time with my family and pursuing interests that have long been backburned." And on top of that, we also have some quotes from many other people who work at both Disney and Pixar, and honestly, the thing is, when he left Pixar, there is no bad blood at all. It even stated here that his departure is very amicable, and he's one of those people that the workers, they have nothing but good things to say about him. We do have some quotes here, like, first and foremost, the Chief Creative Officer of Pixar, Pete Docter, he stated here, "Lee arrived at Pixar as we were crafting Toy Story, and he's had a profound effect on all Pixar films since. He's literally taught us rookie filmmakers about staging, composition, and cutting. His artistry and expert craftsmanship as an editor and co-director became a major reason for the high quality of our filmmaking, and as Lee went on to direct, his ability to find the deep humor and emotion enabled him to create some of the strongest films we have made." We also got another quote from the president of Pixar, Jim Morris, as it states, "If you look at the sweep of contemporary cinema, it would be difficult to find someone more brilliant in the filmmaking arts than Lee Unkrich. He has been a key player in elevating virtually every one of Pixar's films." And we also got a quote from the Walt Disney Studios chairman, Alan Horn, as he states, "Lee has left sorry. That did not come out as well as I expected. Let me try that again. Lee has left an indelible mark on the world of film, and we are so grateful for the passion and talent he has brought to each movie he has worked on. He'll always be a part of the Disney Pixar family, and we will miss him." And just to clarify as well, Alan Horn did not cough after he has stated that message. But yeah, so that's pretty much the big thing that is going on with Lee Unkrich. And by the way, now maybe there are some of you that are listening to this that might not necessarily know who Lee Unkrich is in the first place. Well, to give you a little bit of a clarification there, Lee Unkrich, as this has stated before, he is a Pixar veteran that worked for the studio for 25 years, and he actually came in as an editor for the first Toy Story, and since then, he has worked both as a co-director and an editor for many of the Pixar classic movies, including A Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, Finding Nemo, Monsters, Inc., and many more. But his directorial debut wouldn't happen until in 2010, when he came on board and became the big boss of Toy Story 3, which was not only a highly praised and a highly critically acclaimed film by both critics and audiences, but also a historical animated feature, as it was the first ever animated movie to surpass $1 billion at the box office. And then he would go and try to make his second animated feature that he would direct, and this one he did have a little bit of complications, a little bit of difficulties in order to get from the ground up, because he did spend many years working on this, but finally, his Dia de los Muertos movie finally came out, and it turned into the form of Pixar's Coco, which turned out to be another great animated feature, and nearly unanimously agreed to probably be the best animated film of 2017 as well. So, Lee Unkrich at this point, he is leaving a very strong legacy at Pixar, and honestly, looking back at his works, I could definitely say that even though he has only worked on, or he has only directed 2 movies, but worked on many of the other Pixar films, I can definitely say that I am a Lee Unkrich fan myself, and I definitely do love his movies. I mean, Coco, fantastic film, it looks amazing, definitely a lot of innovative use of the animation, and very strong heart. I mean, you can't find, it's hard to find another animated film where you have one tear-jerking moment after another, especially towards the end. So, it was a great, heartwarming movie, so definitely love Coco. And as for Toy Story 3, this might sound crazy, but I would even say that Toy Story 3 is one of my favorite Pixar films. And that really is saying a lot, considering that we are talking about Pixar. It is such an amazing feature film, and it really did solidify making Toy Story, like the whole thing, making Toy Story what could unanimously be agreed as the greatest animated trilogy of all time, where one animated film after another, it's just amazing after amazing after amazing, and this one is as well, not only staying true to the spirit of Toy Story, but also delivering a perfect ending. I know Toy Story 4 is coming in, but just focusing on Toy Story 3, it really is such a heartbreaking, but also very joyous ending as well. Seeing the final goodbyes of Woody and his toys and Andy. It's just, oh god, it's one of the most memorable animated moments ever, and definitely a massive tearjerker. It really was hard to, when the movie came out in theaters, it was hard to really find someone with a dry eye after that scene. And I know that there are some people that they would hop into the comment section going well, I didn't cry at Toy Story. Yeah. You say that, but you're a comment. Who would believe you anyways? But yeah, honestly, with the news right over here regarding Lee Unkrich's departure and the fact that I really do admire his work, especially even with what he has done in the past, he really was a key player in terms of developing the Toy Story movie, not just the Toy Story movies, but developing the early Pixar movies and to build Pixar to become what it is today. The reason why many people would still regard Pixar as the kings of animation right now. He definitely was a major influence and a key player to make sure that all that would actually work out for the company. And honestly, looking back at this, with the way that Lee Unkrich is leaving, I think the best way to describe his departure is exactly like the end of Toy Story 3, where it really is bittersweet. On one hand, it is really sad, and it would make one cry to know that Lee Unkrich is leaving an entire amazing quarter of a century legacy at Pixar, where he really did help make the studio become what it is today, to become so legendary, releasing amazing hit after amazing hit, with a few exceptions, of course. But yeah, it is sad to see him go, and I would love to see more Lee Unkrich movies in the future. Maybe he is going to still make more animated films, but I do find it a bit sad that, like, he's leaving Pixar and no longer bringing his magic onto those movies. It is a little bit tragic in that way. But on the other hand, it is not all that sad either, because there is a bit of a happy ending. You know that Lee Unkrich is going to be moving on to a happier time. He's not leaving in bad terms with Pixar. It's nothing like the John Lasseter controversy or any of that. You know, he's still leaving as a very admirable figure from Pixar, and he's moving on so that he can work on some of his personal projects and spending time with his family. So you know that Lee Unkrich is leaving a happy man, and he's going to be a happier man now with his family and the stuff that he wants to do. It's not necessarily the end that we're going to hear from Lee Unkrich, but the fact that he is out of Pixar, yeah, it is kind of sad in a way. So that's why it feels very comparable to the end of Toy Story 3. While, yes, it is kind of sad to see him go, and I mean, it is a moment that I can understand why people would shed a tear, but it is for the best, you know? It is so that Lee Unkrich could have a better time for himself. You know, it's more that Lee Unkrich doesn't just manually do the same things over and over again. He's out to a better place, and he's not dead, so that's another good thing. But honestly, for me, I do feel like it is sad, but you know, it is for the best. I feel happy and sad regarding the situation, and Lee, all I could say is just thank you so much for what you have done at Pixar. It is just absolutely phenomenal, the works that you have given out from the company. I adore your movies like Toy Story 3 and Coco, and I wish you the best of luck in your future with your family and your personal projects. And all I could say at this point is just go have fun, dude. Go, you know, just make sure you spend your time just being happy and having fun with the people that love you. So I think that's my little ending piece on that, and hopefully we will hear from you more in the future, of course. So I think that's pretty much all that I can add about this piece right over here. So at least we do have a little bit of a happy ending with this. So I would like to go into the chat wall right now, and I would like to know, what do you guys think regarding Lee Unkhrich's departure at Pixar? Are you sad to see him go? Are you happy that he's going to be a happier man in the future? I want to know, what do you all think about this? Let's see. I don't blame Lee Unkrich for leaving Pixar to spend time with I don't blame Lee Unkrich for leaving Pixar. Spending time with your family is something that any animator or worker would want to do. Besides that, Lee was an animation legend for directing two of the most beloved animated films in recent years, with Toy Story 3 and Coco. Let's hope for the best for Lee's future. I just realized that after John Lasseter was revealed to be the head of Skydance Animation, they should have picked Lee to be the head. All I could say for him leaving is so long, partner. Yeah. Oh my god. And the chat wall, I could say right now, it is flooded with so many people saying so long, partner. We're gathering all the so long partners. We got all the so long partners in the chat wall. Okay. Going back into this, Lee Unkrich was the man responsible for 2 of Pixar's best films to date, and to see him go was really sad. Coco had a massive emotional impact on me that I didn't witness since the Peanuts movie. Yeah, and again, so long, partner. Okay, at least we still have Bob Peterson and Pete Docter, and that at the very least, the ones who are leaving Pixar are at least leaving Pixar in a more peaceful manner compared to the employees of Sony and DreamWorks. Okay. Let's see now. Do we have anything? Yeah, okay. Wow. Yep, and once again, just all the so long partners. I mean, what else can you say at this point other than so long, partner? It's just all that. Now we could just pan out and we see all the other toys and the random Totoro cameo. Oh boy. So yeah, I think, oh, we do have one more thing. I just want to read this. When I heard about this news, I was shocked. This was too quickly for me because I thought he could stick around a little bit after Lasseter has finally left Pixar for good. I wish him the best of luck. I wonder who's leaving next. Andrew Stanton. Oh, that is actually true. That is one that we have yet to point out. Yeah, Bob Peterson and Pete Docter are still there, but also Andrew Stanton is, I think he is also still at Pixar, so I guess we're going to have to wait and see with what happens with him. Maybe he's going to leave, maybe he'll stick around, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think we see the strong support that Lee Unkrich has in here, so it is very heartwarming to discuss about this. Very good transition as well after, letting out some steam about Ghostbusters and then going through this. It feels peaceful. It feels very nice. All right, but anyways, now that we are done with this, oh wait, hold on a sec. Actually, not yet. It says Andrew Stanton is currently directing TV episodes. TV episodes of what though? I don't know. But anyways, maybe the chat wall will clarify that a little sooner. But anyways, going back to this, yes, we're pretty much done with this piece of news. And now it is time that we shall go into the grand finale. And this time around, it shall be a little bit of an update regarding last week's bombshell of a story regarding John Lasseter joining Skydance Animation as the head of the company, just 9 days after he left Disney for good. Now, so far, I will say this. One thing that I was actually surprised about is actually the fact that we didn't necessarily see a whole lot of action being taken place. Especially when you have heard that this decision and this promotion for John Lasseter, it was rather, it was rather not only controversial, but also something that was very negatively received. And ever since his hiring, all we have heard is just talk. People expressing their opinions regarding this, and not just coming from me, but especially within the industry. We have heard women in animation talking about this, saying that they're not necessarily comfortable with this decision. We have heard Time's Up, the organization that spearheaded the #MeToo movement, saying that they're not comfortable with this decision. And also, especially, it seems pretty unanimous when it comes to all the artists and animators in the animation industry that they are certainly not cool with John Lasseter being the new head of Skydance, where there are some women that stated that they wouldn't be caught dead at the studio, and even the animators at Skydance already are pretty pissed off about it. So, again, we didn't see a lot of action being taken place, but there are a lot of talks happening. But there is one little piece of action that is taking place, and so far this is the only controversial thing that we have seen so far, and that is the action from Paramount Animation. Yes, Paramount Animation is now going to be distancing themselves from Skydance after hiring John Lasseter. Now, I just want to bear in mind that the thing with Paramount Animation is that this is completely separate from Skydance Animation. The thing is that these two are different animation studios that are just under the same company umbrella, which in this case is Paramount. It's very much a bit similar to what we have seen with Disney Animation and Pixar, that's under the Disney umbrella, and also Illumination and DreamWorks under the Universal umbrella. So the same thing is pretty much with this one right over here. However, the previous relationship before John Lasseter came in was that Paramount Animation would go and help out Skydance by giving out some notes, especially with their first animated feature that they would release in 2021 called Luck. They would go and hand out a little bit of notes regarding what they can do to improve, what are good, what are bad, and all that kind of stuff. But ever since John Lasseter's hiring, the president, Muriel Soria, announced that they are no longer going to be collaborating with Skydance, that they are going to distance themselves from that company and no longer hand out any creative notes for any of their future films, including for Luck. And on top of that, it even stated right over here that Muriel Soria vowed to maintain a safe work environment at Paramount Animation where no one feels uncomfortable, emphasizing that should Lasseter request input for any of her staff in the future, no one should feel obligated to work with him. According to sources, again, reading from... Nope, my source is not a burp. My source actually is from The Hollywood Reporter once again. And it even stated, there is also another really good quote in this about, oh, yes, right over here. It actually says that David Ellison's Skydance, which has a first look marketing and distribution agreement with Paramount, formed a new animation unit, Skydance Animation, in 2017. Okay, that we already know. One of his first two projects, Luck, an animated comedy set for a 2021 release, the Skydance team did not have a formal creative partnership with Paramount Animation, but have turned to Soria and her colleagues for advice, and Soria has been providing them with creative notes in developing the project. At Monday's meeting, Soria said that she would no longer provide further notes moving forward, although with Lasseter taking over Skydance and providing direction of his own, that might become a moot point. So that's basically the big thing that is going on right over here, and probably the most consequential action that has happened regarding this John Lasseter hiring is the fact that now Paramount Animation doesn't want anything to do with Skydance. And there is something that you got to keep in mind. One thing that I forgot to mention here is actually the fact that, believe it or not, when John Lasseter was hired, that was actually a decision that not even Paramount knew about. And sources actually stated that they were a bit upset regarding that decision. And that was the reason why I was a bit expecting that maybe some kind of action was taking place, like something really big that would happen, like a major hit on Skydance Animation that maybe, like, probably the most extreme example that the studio would shut down, that they would either fire David Ellison, the CEO of Skydance, or that they would just immediately kick out John Lasseter with no questions asked. Considering especially the fact that that John Lasseter's hiring was so negatively received, and especially seemingly that it makes it look like John Lasseter did not receive any form of punishment or consequence for the decades of sexual misconduct that he has actually done at Pixar. It just feels like it puts Skydance in a really negative image. It's just like, so far, I have yet to actually hear about one good thing regarding Skydance. And that's the thing regarding Paramount. It's just that considering that they didn't even know about this, I'm surprised that they didn't immediately go and take action, that they have yet to actually do something about it. I don't know if they are, or I don't know if they can have a position to actually say something about it. I don't know if Paramount can actually do something to intervene regarding this entire situation. I don't know if that would actually be the case if they can, but yeah, I'm surprised nothing has really done, nothing has actually happened as of yet. And honestly, this seems to be just the most consequential thing that could happen, is just the fact that Skydance lost their relationship with Paramount Animation. So now they're just all on their own with just John Lasseter on board. And I know that it seems a bit underwhelming. It seems a bit disappointing that it looks like John Lasseter could just be getting away with what he has done throughout the years, and now he's just a new, he's leading another animation studio, but it's not necessarily Disney and stuff like that. But it is kind of it is kind of disappointing. And I do see that apparently it's stated right over here that Paramount cannot back out of their contract with Skydance. Yeah, that is a bit disappointing as well. That is just it's just there. We do seem to be in a position, but where now all we can do is just look at this and just ask, well, what can we do? It's just it is unfortunate, but it looks like maybe there is a chance that John Lasseter could possibly get away with it. He's not going to be as punished for the things that he has done at the studio. Now, I don't know if there is going to be some major action that will be taking place. We don't know if that's going to happen. We don't know if John Lasseter might be up to no good once again, but it's just, I don't know, guys. It sucks. I think that's the best way to put it, is that it is unfortunate that we don't see justice being served. It's a little bit, again, bringing back an older story. It's a little bit like with the whole Ghostbusters scenario. It sucks that there is a new Ghostbusters coming out where it seems like it's rewarding the toxic behavior from the controversy. But in this case right over here, it doesn't look like some action can be taken place, because we don't necessarily know what can anyone do about this whole situation. We don't know if Paramount can really do anything about it. We don't know if anyone else can really do anything about it. It's just a really crappy scenario. And I mean, maybe there won't be as much action as I thought that is going to be taking place. And it really does suck. Maybe John Lasseter is going to get away with the things that he has done, and now just leading to a new studio. And actually, wow, that there is actually, someone actually did bring up something that I almost forgot, where I just want to mention that it is highly understandable why Paramount Animation would want to even distance themselves with Skydance, because the thing is that looking at Paramount Animation is that they're actually no stranger when it comes to controversies revolving around sexual harassment, because they actually did have a bit of a #MeToo movement within the studio. Because the original director of Wonder Park, which is coming out this March, the original guy was actually Dylan Brown, which, ironically enough, he was a Pixar animator. But with Dylan Brown, there were a lot of controversies with him that apparently he was causing a lot of sexual harassment. And Paramount Animation, they immediately decided to take action, and they fired him on the spot after they received all those reports, which now there are a series of directors that are on board working on Wonder Park, one of which is actually David Feiss, the creator of Cow and Chicken. So that's actually pretty cool to note. And I can understand about their position right now regarding sexual harassment and stuff like that. So I can totally imagine about the shock, especially from President Muriel Soria, where like, they had that moment to make sure that they want to keep Paramount Animation to be as safe of an environment as possible. And then you got Skydance suddenly coming in with John Lasseter, which really kind of like is the opposite of their principles and really kind of took a left turn. I was like, what the fridge is this? So I don't blame them that they want to try to avoid that as much as possible, that they want to distance themselves. They are familiar with the problem, and they know that John Lasseter is a part of the problem, which is why they don't want to interact with John whatsoever. But going back into the subject at hand, the thing is that unfortunately, yeah, as I've stated before, it does suck that when it comes to Skydance and the whole John Lasseter thing, maybe at the end of the day he will be getting away with it. Maybe he is just going to be the head of Skydance Animation with no or not much consequence whatsoever. You know, it does suck that we don't see true justice being served, but unfortunately we got to go and accept that it's life. That's how it usually is. Sometimes it's not necessarily fair. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily go the way that you want it. And yeah, it is unfortunate, but maybe we'll have to wait and see if more development is going to be happening regarding the whole scenario with John Lasseter in Skydance. But yeah, so far it doesn't look like there's going to be much. And the most that is going to happen is just people reacting, Skydance not having a good reputation, and that's pretty much it. It sucks, but that's life, I guess. Okay, so with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall right over here, and I want to ask you guys about Paramount Animation's decision regarding distancing themselves from Skydance because of John Lasseter. Do you think they pulled a good move? Do you think that it was a mistake on Paramount's part? I would like to know what you guys think about all this. Alright, so let's see now. Sherlock Gnomes from Paramount Animation did something very noble by having a 50-50 women to men ratio in the animation team. Oh, that I did not know. And most of the women worked on Moriarty. Oh, which is actually interesting because technically animation-wise, Moriarty would have some of the more memorable animation moments. That or, who's the girl again? I forgot the girl's name, but then again, it's Sherlock Gnomes. I shouldn't have, a photogenic memory of all the things that happen in there. Anyways, other animation studios would have a women to men ratio 70-30. Wonder Park has a female director, so Paramount Animation is taking the right step in hiring women to the team. Okay, so good on Paramount Animation. Let's see. While Paramount Animation's output has been rather lacking, their decision to distance from Skydance and Lasseter is why I strongly respect Muriel Soria as an animation studio's president, studio president. Valuing morality and safety over strong creativity leadership is definitely the right thing to do. All right, that's good. Let's see now. If Paramount is not going to help Skydance Animation anymore because of John Lasseter, what will happen to Skydance Animation's upcoming films like Luck, Split, Powerless, and the 14th Goldfish? Well, when it comes to those films, well, they're not getting help from Paramount Animation, but rather they're just getting help from John Lasseter. That's the thing. That's why it's stated in my source that although with Lasseter taking over Skydance and providing direction of his own, that might have become a moot point. So what's going to happen creatively with Skydance Animation? Well, they got John Lasseter. He's the boss. So creatively, what he say will go. They don't need advice from any other studio. They don't need Paramount Animation. They don't even need Paramount Pictures. They got John for that. So that's going to be what's going to happen with that. Let's see. Definitely a good idea to distance themselves from Skydance, as they do not want to be associated with John. And also, I'm glad Paramount Animation made a good decision to distance themselves from Skydance, but it doesn't help me get over the fact that this studio is still struggling with their films. Even I heard that Wonder Park is going to be a bomb, according to Box Office Pro, with an $8 million opening against a $100 million budget. Oh god, Wonder Park has a $100 million budget? Oh god, yeah, no, I think at that point it is gonna flop. Eesh. Especially with the fact that it is closely, like, its release date is very close to How to Train Your Dragon 2. Yeah, that's gonna be a major factor where it's gonna really screw itself over. That and also, Captain Marvel. Oh, that and also Dumbo is going to be coming out soon, so families might rather want to watch that. Yeah, okay. Wonder Park is gonna bomb no matter what. But I think with all that said and done, we are pretty much done with this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. So I just want to say right now, thank you all so much for watching and thank you all so much for listening. It definitely has been a fun and great episode, and I cannot wait to go and talk more crazy news with you guys in the following weeks. In fact, next week, I'm sure it's going to be a pretty big episode because keep your eyes out, because soon we will be talking about the official list of the nominations for the Oscars, so that's going to be definitely exciting, and hopefully more animation news is going to come, more movie news is going to come, more madness and craziness is going to come. So I just want to say to you all, thank you guys so much for watching and listening, and until next time, see you later, dudes!